board meeting Wednesday. Beyond the boardroom. Beyond the boardroom.
All right, here we go. Another episode of Board Meeting Wednesdays. This episode is going to be a Power of 27, where I'm sitting down with Adam Yeager, one of my best friends, to talk about how we set goals and how we look at life so we can drive success in it. If you don't know, we have a two-part episode. The first episode is where we dive into retail SaaS, where I interview business owners on the top 3 technology platforms that they use in their business. Adam and I just wrapped that up, and now we're going to have our one-on-one, just open, free conversation about what drives us to get us where we want to go. So Adam, appreciate you coming on the show. It was a great episode. How'd you enjoy it?
I mean, couldn't have better settings, couldn't have better people. I'm excited to be out here. I'm looking forward to doing some surfing when we're complete. But yeah, it's been a great day.
I got to say, one of my goals for me in setting up the podcast around Board Meeting Wednesday was to do it on the boat, right? I want to invite people out, get out here, get outside and have a good time. So I got to give you props to be the first official person to make the journey to do it on the boat. So that's a champagne bottle crasher.
Happy to be here, man. Happy to be here.
So for everybody that watches my content, and even right, I've had you do your Power of 27 and write down your 27 goals. We're actually just talking about, looking back at it when you were actually having to go through it. And a lot of us feel like we're goal-driven, but maybe we don't write our goals down, or maybe we're not being detailed enough in those goals. So, and for me, when I'm teaching people and teaching other business owners, whether it's the business owners, whether it's the managers, the employees, everybody needs to have a goal, because you need to have your reason why, right? Always start with the reason why. Simon Sinek, big advocate of that, right? He talks about we can get where we need to go because times are going to get hard. Life's not easy, but if I have a strong enough reason why, I can push through those times, right? So when you're looking at everything, because you got a lot going on, you're a busy man, right? I know me and you connect every morning before the day actually gets crushed, so we can kind of just set our gratitude list for the day or our goals for the day, kind of brainstorm some of the challenges we had. But before we get into how you set goals, what would you say your big reason why is? Why do you get up every day and drive the way you're trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish in life?
Well, I retired for a few years and I found like that did not suit me very well. My personality, I need purpose, I need challenge, and I need it in a workspace that really kind of complements those two objectives. So, early on, I had a fantastic mentor, and I had never really set goals before. I had wishes, and what he taught me was the difference between a wish and a goal. And most people don't know what this is. A wish is just hoping something that happens good for you. I wish that the weather's nice today, or I wish that I'm successful, or I wish that customers would come through. Where the differentiates comes with a goal is that a goal is written down. A goal is measurable. A goal is obtainable. You can put together kind of a process of achieving a goal versus a wish. So early on, I really got to understand the difference between a wish and a goal. And when you write something down and you keep it, I like to have notepads. Something's a visual kind of cue for me. Every day I've got 3 or 4 notepads that I'm going through and I'm just checking off goals, and it feels really rewarding. At the end of the day, if I'm just keeping it all up here, A, I'm going to forget things. B, I'm not going to be able to measure it, and I'm not going to have that reminder, So I think a goal for me is just continuous success for myself and the people that surround me, and honestly, the people that I interact with, whether it's a one-time interaction or multiple interactions. I want to help provide betterment for the people around me, and that's been a goal that really came later in life.
Well, you talk about later in life. I know you and I, we've had a long journey together, and I would say we're both very driven. We love business. We love making money. And so money is always a good goal, right? But as you've gotten older, you're a family man now, right? You got two little ones that you're looking after, right? How has that changed your reason why? And what's your focus on a daily basis? Because it's not just you anymore.
Well, I think money is always the initiator for goals, right? Everybody wants to be wealthy. They want to have, financial security. At some point in time, you get to a saturation point where that isn't the fun. It's not the fundamental, and it's not the fun part, right? The fun part is watching the individuals around you get that next step up in life. That guy that's making $50,000 going to $150,000, right? Or that guy that lived in a trailer and now owns a really nice home, or that guy that was riding a bicycle now has a car, or he went from a service advisor to a regional manager. For me, my goals have changed really kind of with the people that surround me, and obviously my children as well. But being financially stable doesn't necessarily give me the enjoyment that I thought that it would. I really enjoy just the hunt of the deal and taking something that is distressed and making it, successful, and watching the success around. I did consulting for a number of years, and I would go to distressed markets and fix them. And as soon as I get them fixed, I'm going to another distressed market. And I lost my passion doing that, because you want that camaraderie with success with the people around you. So when you win, you want to be able to celebrate that win with the people around you. And that's really where the game is, man. At some point in time, you're going to have enough money if you're really driven and you write down your goals and you really start achieving them. So it's really, how successful can you make the people around you?
Yeah, I find that the money part just becomes the fuel, right? Like whether it's the trip you want to take or that new adventure that you want to take, money is the tool that helps you get on the journey. And the fun part for entrepreneurs, what we're trying to do is enjoy the journey and just tackle that next opportunity that's in front of us so we can get out there and crush it. So let's go back a few years when I launched the Power of 27. I remember talking to you about my plan and how I was doing it and how I was organizing myself. What was it like writing down those first initial 27 goals?
Well, I'll be transparent with you. Most of my goals have been 10 or less. I like to get goals that I can hit within a short time frame. And 27, I found myself shocked. When I got to number 16, I almost got stuck. And, for me, it was kind of a self-reflection that, I can't come up with more than 16 goals for myself. Like, that was a little bit embarrassing. So I had to push through about a day or two of really reflecting and put together the 27 that you had kind of outlined for me. And honestly, I think I got a check mark next to 25 or 26 of those at this point. And I've re-engaged and inserted, additional goals to replace the ones that have already been achieved.
All right, so let's talk about that. You wrote down those 27 goals. You've checked 25 of them off the list. You've added more goals to the list. What's your cadence there? Like how often do you go back and look at it? How often are you recalibrating? Are you always doing it in a notepad, right? Because you like to write it off, you like to check it. I know I used to write them down, then I had a whiteboard, and then I went to a reminders app, and then I built my own custom app. So my journey's changed. How is your process, and how often are you recalibrating those goals and making sure that you're staying on track?
I'm a pad and paper man. So I'll have 4 or 5 pads of paper in my car, at my house, in my office. And, I've got multiple different pads with different goals, different objectives I got to get done. But, what I would say, if you're new to this, and again, I had a mentor teach me this, do what's called a data dump. Take everything that you got going on, personal, business, and write it all down. And then once you've got it written down, start prioritizing what's the most important for you to achieve. And pick 5, 10, maybe 27. And put those down in order of what's most important to least important. And just make sure on a daily basis, you're doing something to get towards that objective. It may take you a day. It may take you a week. It may take you a month. But, what most people do is they kick the can down the road. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that next week. And Elon Musk has been very known for prioritizing things to have rapid exposure to getting task achieved. It shouldn't take you 6 months to get a goal achieved. It doesn't matter how lofty the goal is. What can I do today to get me closer to what my objective is? And just make sure, like that notepad, it sits on my desk, it sits on my counter, it sits in my car. I see it. I know that I've got to touch it. And I've got to make revisions. So as soon as I start checking things off, I'm thinking about new goals. I'm thinking about new objectives, new things that I need to get accomplished. So I'm always just adding to it.
Yeah, I noticed I changed my construct because I like what you said there about Elon. It's about that rapid growth. And so I read a book, The 12-Week Year, and what it basically explained was don't set your goals as a New Year's resolution and think about it as for the year. You can have goals that will take you a year, but consolidate what you're going to get done in the next 12 weeks and run as fast as you possibly can. And then at 12 weeks, recalibrate and then look at what you accomplished. Where did you drop the ball? What became more important because you learned over the last 12 weeks, and now you need to repivot those goals so you can have a new focus. And what I found and what I like about that is, one, if a year goes by, everything has changed in your life. So you have to just recalibrate all your goals. But every 12 weeks, I know that I have to recalibrate. And so I have like a 2-week sprint there at the end because I don't like to not check my goals off my list, right? So I'm like, man, I got behind on this stuff. I'm going to really grind for the next 2 weeks. I get this great momentum in my 12-week sprint. Now I'm recalibrating and I'm setting new goals based on that excitement that I had. And I'm literally living a 12-week year lifestyle because I'm accomplishing things that would have took me a year in 12 weeks. You start compounding that over the 4 quarters of a year. And next thing you know, I kid around, tell people I'm living in 2028 with all the stuff that I've gotten accomplished because of the momentum that I've created. I laugh when I think about you with the pen and paper. I'm a heavy tech guy. I'm all in the apps. I built my own app. I'm using Claude on a normal, consistent basis. And so for you out there that don't know, my middle name is actually Claude. So Adam actually has his own personal Claude. He doesn't even have to go on the computer. He just calls me up, says, "This is what I got going on. This is what I'm doing. Can you put that in Claude for me?" And then I'm over here sending that stuff back to him. So we had a great working session today. One of my goals was to teach Adam how to actually use Claude, so he didn't have to use the Bradley Claude. He could actually use the Claude Anthropic to get out here and crush the game. And it's funny with the tech. I actually built an app just for me, right? And people could use it and download it. But my main focus was I need a system that works for me, because it was always disjointed what I was working on, and I didn't have everything in the system. And I was able to build the app to have a connector to go into Claude. And so now Claude actually reviews my goals for me. And as I'm moving through that 12-week sprint or recalibrating the sprint, I can ask him, where did I drop the ball? How could I be better to perform on my goals? And you would not believe the output that it gives you to say, look, if your objective was this, you only spent this much time on it. You did not dedicate enough time towards that goal. You need to recalibrate and work your calendar better. And it'll actually help me time block my calendar to say, if you want to accomplish this goal, this is the amount of time you need to spend on it. So getting that technology factor into it has been a game changer for me, because again, I feel like I'm living in the future, because I can sit down in the course of a day, I can move mountains because I'm multitasking and I have all these different, instances going with Claude, just crushing the game. It was funny today, we got Adam his account, and we maxed out his usage almost immediately. So I had to upgrade him to the max plan. He's like, "Can I downgrade the max plan?" When I was like, "Well, let's see what your usage is first, because what you need to do is start using this so you can catapult your efforts."
Well, here I've got a little bit, so I think the 12-week thing is perfect. I think that everybody's going to be a little bit different, right? So when I was just a normal person and didn't really have some mentors or education, my life was just kicking the can, right? And that's where most people live. I would say the successful people are the ones that are the doers, right? You got to be out there doing things. So when I go into an auto repair shop and I'm taking over a market or I'm taking over a location, day one, we're cleaning and organizing that shop. And I'm in there doing it with the guys, right? Because if I told them to do it, it would take them a week to do it. What would take them a week, we can do in 3 hours as a collective group. And that really applies to any objective you're trying to achieve. If you can get a Brad Parker or get some of your team members or some of your friends or family to help you work on whatever goals that you have, put that in a very short window, whether it's 12 weeks or 12 hours. At the end of the day, you'd be surprised what collective individuals can do when they have like-minded objectives. And if you've got a goal that you want to achieve, most of it can be done very quickly. I mean, if you look at the top Fortune 500 CEOs, you look at the presidents of countries, they have the same 24 hours in the day that you and I have. It's what are they able to achieve within those 24 hours? And at the end of the day, it's what are you willing to put in? If you want to be successful, you got to put in full throttle every single freaking day. Doesn't mean you can't have down days. Doesn't mean you can't rest. It just means that, look, man, I got 24 hours and out of 8 of those, I'm sleeping. So what can I achieve and who can help me get to that goal as quickly as possible so I can put that check mark next to it and I can rock on to the next one? But there's only so many days in your life. And if you've got goals, start today and try to minimize the amount of time it takes you to do the goals, and you'd be surprised what you'll be able to achieve.
I like what you mentioned with the team and getting in there and working with them. That was a big pivot for me, because I was always goal driven. And so I found, because I call it jump in. You got to jump in and get the work done. If your team sees that you're willing to do it,
everybody's all hands on deck.
All hands on deck. Like, the boss man's over here doing it. I better get in there and get that done. So you got to jump in. Everybody has to know you're willing to do the work as well. And for me, it was never work, because my goals were so clear and they were so large. I understood the work was actually the fuel that was going to help me accomplish those goals. So I saw work as fun, because this was the tool that was going to get me where I needed to go. But as I grew in my business, I think at my peak, I probably employed 150 people. I saw a huge difference in the style of person that was working for me. You had a certain group of people that were super motivated, coming in, crushing it. They knew the numbers. They knew what they needed to do because they had goals. They had something that they were driving for. And then I have another subset of people that are just watching the clock, right? When am I going to get to clock out? When am I going to be done? And I could go back to my youth when I didn't have goals. I remember just sitting there looking at the clock, wondering when can I get off so I can go do something fun, because work wasn't fun because I needed the money. to go kick the can down the road, not actually accomplish my goal. So for me, I haven't worked in decades because I know that if I put the work in today, I'm going to get what I want. And so what I did is I actually taught my team to use the power of 27 as a tool so I could get my team to write down their goals, help them accomplish those goals, help them have systems to accomplish and move towards those goals. And what I find is I have a great culture in my business because when it's time to go put the work in, everybody knows, well, if we can get this done, this is the output that I'm going to get. And then I can start checking my goals off the list.
Well, on average, 20% of your employees do 80% of the work. And when you change the culture, you start seeing that percentage grow to where 50% are doing the work, 60% are doing the work. But if you don't change the culture, and the culture starts with you, right? And at the end of the day, you're 100% right. Most businesses operate with 20% of the employees doing 80% of the work, right? So you can either scale back on the number of employees you have, or you can change the culture and start getting everybody engaged. And it starts with you. I've cleaned toilets in shops. Now, everybody watched me clean that toilet, and I guarantee you I won't have to clean it again, but this is now my standard. This toilet is going to look like this every time I come in here, whether that's going on the back house, the front house, around the shop, anything that's going on with the operations. I don't mind jumping in and doing it, but now this is the standard. And if you set the standard yourself, now you'll start seeing that 20% of the staff becomes 30% of the staff, becomes 40%, becomes 60%. And now you got a really healthy business that you can scale. Because you're going to be limited on scaling any business depending on your staff and quality of staff. Because as you get bigger, your talent gets diluted.
Yep.
So you've got to build that talent, man. Very rarely do you hire someone off the street that's got the talent of what you're looking for. If you do, you're lucky and you're better recruiting than I am. But if you build your talent, they know what your expectations are. They know what your standards are. And they want to overshoot. You want the guys that are going there and they're going to shoot for the moon, man.
Yep.
So you hire ambitious people, you teach and train them to the nines, and you don't get scared to put in there and teach them what a goal is, and teach them what standards are, and teach them what your expectations are. And you'll find guys that excel better than I've got guys that have done bigger numbers than I've ever done in a store. And that's the real line of success.
Well, that's the way you scale, right? We always grew from our locations from within, right? We would develop people and then realize, okay, I have too much talent here. I need to be able to give these guys more opportunities. So now I can go open up my next business, and I've already got the team trained and ready to go. Now I've got multiple locations and I'm doing the same thing. And then you can continue to scale out. And you just can't simply do that. You're not going to find people that will run your businesses for you unless they have goals.
I've never had luck with hiring multi-unit guys from, I don't care if they have 30 years in the industry or 15 years in the industry. The best multi-unit operators I had were service advisors for me, then general managers, then regional managers, going over 3 stores to 5 stores to 10 stores, because they know your culture. They don't come with any bad habits. They know exactly what you want and how you want it done. And that's how I grew up in the industry. I started as a service advisor, general manager, regional manager, vice president to owner. I scaled up to 46 locations over a number of years and had to exit with private equity. And the only way you do that is by building a solid team around you, because as you expand, your talent gets diluted unless you're developing talent.
Well, I know that's something that you've always been good at. I love following your social media because you're always talking about positive things about your team. You're taking the team out, you're rewarding the team and showing them, hey, look, if we can hit these numbers, we've got rewards and goals on the other end of it, right? So it's always about what are we here to do and why are we doing it?
It's about the we, right? It's not about the I anymore. I lost that really early on. It's about the we. The success goes to the operators, not to the owners, right? If you're taking all the gravy, there's no reason for your guys to work hard. If you're giving them all the attaboys, you're telling them that, hey, man, you crushed it. You did absolutely fantastic. And on the other hand of the coin, when they fail, you got to let them know they failed and coach them on how to do better. But, I watch too many owners try to take success and put it under their own wing. It belongs to your team, man.
I think that's a great insight for almost to even close with, guys. So if you're out there and you're a business owner, you probably already have goals. Your goals are written down. They're very, very clear. But keep in mind, in order for you to accomplish those goals, it's about the we. You need a great team. I was just at a trade show and there was an open panel where people were asking questions. And one of the questions was, how are you finding talent? And what are some of the interview questions that you ask people? And I was listening to the responses, and nothing really kind of rang true. It wouldn't tell me if that person's going to be a great fit for my culture. And so I believe the number one question that you should ask in an interview, and you should almost just start with it, is ask that person, what are your goals? get your goal list out. Tell me how you're documenting them. What are they? And run through them with me. And if you don't have somebody that has that just right out of the gate written down and know what they're doing, it's going to be probably a bigger challenge to get them where they need to go. So think about it as a business owner, you're goal driven, but teach your team to be goal driven. Make sure that they're writing goals and make sure that you have a plan for them as one of your team members to accomplish their goals. And you'll be able to develop a team that will absolutely help you crush it.
And celebrate their success.
Every day, every day. Well, Adam, I appreciate you coming on. It's definitely beneficial for all those guys out there that are looking to take their life to the next level. Set your goals, get a mentor, and drive success today.
Board meeting Wednesday.